If you're not physically experiencing the death and destruction, you're doing it, everything's remote. And even though you know there's like a tally and you know that there's...
Do you ever, did I ever mention, I probably have one of the times I've been on, but that Madeleine Albright quote, when she was interviewed on 60 Minutes, and there was this UN report, this is during the Clinton years, and there was a UN report that said that because at the time, like the first Persian Gulf War was over, but Bill Clinton had this like massive sanction regime against Iraq, and they had a total blockade around the country and massive bombing campaigns. And this is one of the things Osama bin Laden cited in his declaration of war against the U.S., one of his list of grievances. And so the UN report said that they believe 500,000. Oh, yeah, it's pretty short. You could just play it.
Happened in Hiroshima.
Well, hold on. Bring it back a little because I missed her question.
We have heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And you know, is the price worth it?
I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
It's just like a crazy thing to just say. Like, she goes, 500,000 kids have died. Is the price worth it? And you go, yeah, we think so. But I mean, she did preface it by, it's a tough choice. But yeah, we do. And this was always kind of like my thing. And this is what Ron Paul, there's like what I first got introduced to Ron Paul. It was that moment with Giuliani in 2007 when they were having that debate. And his basic argument was just like, look, if we're at war with these terrorists, then we need to at least understand what's going on here. And like put yourself in their in their shoes, you know? How would you feel? And like imagine someone was talking like this about your kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we've decided that price is worth it. I think my response to that might be like, well, I've decided this price is worth it now. You know, like like and again, it's just like the thing with Vladimir Putin. It's just like it doesn't mean like obviously that doesn't mean 9/11 was okay. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't mean like terrorism is okay. It's okay that they killed innocent people. It's just like if you want to understand what's going on here, you have to be able to like put yourself in the perspective. Ask yourself the question: how would we feel if this was done to us?
Right.
And that was my central point with all of the stuff with the war in Ukraine. So I just go like, okay, you know, you're saying Vladimir Putin wasn't provoked, but like, what if the Warsaw Pact never dissolved? And the USSR was still going, and then they moved their military alliance all the way up through Britain and then into Canada, you know? And then they went over and, you know, backed a violent coup who overthrew the pro-US government in Canada and put in a pro-Russian government. And then we're talking about, you know, expanding the military alliance more. And they started putting weapons in Canada. You know what I mean? They'd be like, what would we think about that?
Right.
It's like we'd probably be like, "Whoa, this is an act of aggression.
Yeah,
this is at least a provocation." You know, it's like that. That always, I was always very attracted to Ron Paul's message because of that. Because it's like this just seems like a very basic thing to understand if you're going to understand what's going on. That it's not all. You can't only look at things from the perspective of your country. You have to like look at things from the perspective of people outside.
Well, that's the real problem with getting your news from television, because these are very nuanced subjects that require a lot of information to really get a full picture of what exactly caused this conflict to jump off in the first place. And most people aren't getting that. It's a failure of mainstream news.
But what's cool is like, you know, we are living in this kind of through this revolution of all of that stuff where I genuinely don't know how much longer the corporate press will even be around if it keeps going in this direction. I mean, it is really wild, and it's been very interesting to see both RFK Jr. and Vivek Ramaswamy like on podcasts all over the place. Like I've had both of them on my podcast. You had RFK on here, like blew up the internet. It's just interesting that now they're kind of recognizing, oh, well, there's this whole other way that people are getting information. Yeah. And I don't know how anyone could argue that just objectively, it's so much, if the goal is to like tell people your ideas and to educate people about what's going on, it's so much better to have like a hours long discussion than to go do a 7-minute segment on CNN. It's kind of ridiculous to ever think you could talk about any like complex idea that way. And there's lots of shows like this